Anyway, thank you guys all for joining. It's 8 o'clock my time and 9 o'clock your time, or maybe 6 o'clock your time if you're on the West Coast. Thanks so much for joining. And I thought I would just give you something to shop and look forward to for the future. Those are all the shoes you're going to need to dance off all the frustration and pent up everything after this is all over. That's actually Tamara Mellon, who's a shoe designer. That's her closet. She gave out the picture, which she gave a bunch of really funky, freaky, overly sexualized pictures, but this one was in there also. And so I'll grab that. And so it's just to give you an idea of what's to come. You'll fill your shoe closet, and Wendy and Dana are going to give you ideas of how to dress the rest of your brain so that you'll be in great shape for when this whole thing ends. And I just wanted to say happy week. I feel like hopefully maybe we're turning a corner. It sounds like maybe the news will get a little better. Here in New Orleans, we are flattening the curve. They've pushed us for another month. So we're not getting out anytime soon. But we're figuring things out. And just on a personal note, my daughter decided she's going to come down here. So she jumped in a car from Massachusetts. We rented her a car, and so she's on her way today to Memphis to stay with a friend. And then she's coming down with us for, I guess, 4 or 5 weeks. So we'll see what happens from there. But I'm excited and to finally have one family member with us. And then my son is hunkered down in Connecticut with his friend. Unfortunately, the uncle there has COVID, so now it's this whole rolling. They're negative, but there's this whole rolling thing of when can he leave, and after they get tested, it's a big mess. But anyway, he's doing fine, and he's happy. So what's good is he's not alone. And it's a good family, so they know what they're doing. So anyway, that's where I am. I hope you're having a good week. And I'm going to turn this over to Wendy and Dana, and then I will join you again at the end to talk to you about, we have all kinds of fabulous events coming tonight, especially. You guys should all come to this.
Oops. You muted yourself.
Have I been muted the whole time? I hope not.
No.
Okay. Cecilia Dentino and her partner, they're both psychologists, and they started doing workshops for women 40, 50 plus around the time that I started Covey. And I had been trying to connect with them forever. They're Columbia professors. They've been friends since they were in their 40s. And they use theater. I mean, Bridget, you might be interested in this. They use theater as part of their therapy and because they both were theater majors. So they're going to happen tonight between 8 to 9. So I'm really excited about that one. So I hope you guys will come to that. But I'll walk you through all of it. So I'm going to turn you over to the stars of our show, and I'm going to take away my very distracting background so you listen to them and don't shop. Wendy and Dana, it's all yours.
Awesome.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Positive Monday Mornings. We're so excited that you're back with us today. Another lovely background. Lesley, you're rocking it with the backgrounds. So last week we talked about joy. For the last 2 Mondays, we talked a lot about joy, and we actually closed with a tool last time that talked about how finding generosity and joy comes from not just being generous with others, but fully showing up as ourselves as a way of being generous. To be generous enough to let yourself shine through no matter what was the tool that we ended with. And that kind of leads us into today's topic, which is true self-care. So we're going to talk about the importance of checking in and what true self-care really, really looks like. So I'm going to hand you over to my friend Dana.
Awesome. Welcome, ladies. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm getting a little notice that my internet is unstable, so I hope that I don't pause on you or anything. Self-care, this is so important right now. And, I think what prompted this decision to have this be our conversation today is we're seeing a lot of messages out there about, we have all this time, and now there is this pressure that people are feeling that, oh my gosh, I got to clean out my whole house, or I've got to, do crazy amounts of stuff in my business, and I have to do all these things because I have, quote unquote, all this time. Well, first of all, not everybody is feeling the abundance of time. Some people are actually feeling that they have less time for themselves. But what we want to do is move away from this pressure that we feel in our society to always be productive. There's this cultural obsession with productivity, that we need to be productive all the time. And I think a lot of us measure our self-worth by how much we got done in any given day. We check the boxes, therefore my day was worth it. And what we want to do is move away from that and get you to think about moving away from that, especially during this time. Because this is a time where we're all taking in so much. So much has changed. So much is challenging right now. There's fears and there's all sorts of uncertainty that people are wrestling with. And we're all wrestling with it in different ways. We're all wrestling with it at different levels, at different times on any given day, right? Any given day can have us doing this. And what we want to do is we want to help you check in with yourself and be truly intentional about what does self-care mean to you in this moment and in this day. Because what it means in any moment and any day may be different for you than it was yesterday. And certainly may be different for you than what you feel the pressure to do. And one thing that Wendy and I talk about a lot with all the clients that we work with is we want to move everyone away from the idea of what we should do to what we want to do, from what is expected of us to what is right for us, to what we feel, society thinks should be happening, to what should be happening or what can be happening right now for ourselves because it's right for us. And so we want to move away from this idea of productivity and move towards self-care. And self-care can mean a number of things. And what I want to do is take you through a framework that we covered in my positive psychology training. It was the Whole Being Institute put this together. And it's a framework called SPIRE. And Wendy's going to type in the acronym for you. SPIRE is SPIRE. And what I'm going to do is take you through this framework. And the idea is for you to think or to be intentional each day about checking in with yourself in all of these different elements and ask yourself simple questions. Where am I at today? And how do I want to act, or how do I want to show up, or how do I want to take care of myself in light of where I'm at today? So the acronym is this. S is for spiritual. And the way they define spiritual resonated for me. I personally don't have a religious background, and everybody has a very different background. So have spiritual be whatever for you resonates for you. How they defined it is having something that is meaningful to you outside of yourself, having meaning in your life, pursuing meaning in your life, and having a reverence for the fact that there's grandeur in this world. And we may not be able to, may not be able to explain all of it. So whatever spirituality means for you, S is for spiritual. P is for physical, and that's checking in with your physical body. And what I found interesting is I made a habit for quite a long time of setting my alarm on my phone for multiple times a day. And I would check in with where I was physically. Now, what are my shoulders doing? How am I breathing? Am I breathing these full breaths? What I find for myself, the minute I get stressed, oh my gosh, the shoulders are up to the ears. I am not breathing deeply at all. You even get pains in the chest, right? Sometimes you get that knot in your stomach, and you realize, again, that expansive breath can really be of help. So where are you physically? And checking in with yourself from head to toe. I is intellectually. Where are you intellectually today? And intellectually is, are you leading from a place of curiosity? Are you desiring to learn? Are you needing to just kind of chill and be complete with the fact that you don't want to learn or take in anything new today, right? So I is intellectually. R is relationally, and we've talked a lot about this in positive mornings. the relationships that we have in our lives. How are you relationally with others today? And how are you in relationship to yourself today? So checking in with that. And E is emotionally. And of course, we've mentioned that emotionally, we're probably all doing a lot of the roller coaster thing right now. So emotionally is really acknowledging and having gentle acceptance for where you are emotionally right now and not judging it. Giving yourself permission to be human, permission to experience all of the emotions that we human beings experience because we're meant to experience them. And we've talked about this previously, that if you think of your emotions on kind of a pipeline, all of our emotions are meant to flow through this pipe. And if we try to block the emotions that may feel negative or uncomfortable for us, we inadvertently block the positive emotions as well. So we need to experience all of the human emotions. And the best way to experience it or to navigate the emotions that may be challenging in a negative way is to acknowledge them, right? Right now I'm feeling fear or grief or sadness or anxiety. To check in and to acknowledge that, yes, we feel that, and that's okay. And with that acknowledgement, now we can move on in a better way. So what we want to do today is check in with each of you on each one of these aspects of SPIRE. Again, spiritually, physically, intellectually, relationally, and emotionally. So we're going to check in with each one of those and encourage you as a practice, especially in a challenging time right now, to make this a practice for yourself, to be intentional with this yourself. Self-care, of course, means good sleep, good eating, good nutrition, good movement, exercise. These are the tenets of self-care we all have learned, but there's more to it. And I think as an umbrella with all of this, I think paramount to self-care is being true to yourself. Being true to yourself and living each day in a way that is aligned with what is truly important to you. And so as we talk today about time and self-care, we're asking you to move away again from this idea that in our time we need to be productive to in our time we need to check in with ourselves and do what is right for us, what is aligned with what is important to us, and what feels right to us in each one of these areas of our life. And be honest with where are we at. And based on that reality, decide, okay, this is what I need right now. And that is the ultimate, most beautiful self-care. So what we want to do first is start with S, which is spiritual. And, our question for you is one means for you on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is I am not at all tapped into my spirituality. And 5 is I'm feeling very, very grounded and very tapped in to whatever that is for you. Where are you feeling right now on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 is not at all tapped in. 5 is I'm feeling very much tapped into this right now.
I've got some 4s.
I'm realizing I need to pull up my chat yeah. And as expected, there's a range, right? There's definitely a range. People are popping up, showing up in different ways on this.
Robin's a 7. Rock on, Robin.
So if you could put a me in the chat if you'd like to comment on this. What we'd like to do for each one of these SPIRE elements is hear a couple of your voices and how is this showing up for you? And maybe how has it changed in light of what's happening in the world today? Oh, I've got a me from Courtney. Courtney, if you could unmute your mic, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Morning, guys. I often do feel spiritual at different times. I've had a lot of loss with family. I've learned to see signs at times, and it's been really helpful and really gratifying. But right now, I'm not really seeing signs because I'm a journalist and I'm mired in the ugliness of it. I'm mired in the lack of truth, the lack of facts, the disputed facts, the people that want to deny them, and religion used as more of a cudgel than something special. So honestly, I mean, I know how to tap into it, but I have to say, like, and I don't ever want to be negative. I do try. I'm finding serenity in tiny things. I stand outside the park every day to do these live shots, and a squirrel is coming up to me, or there's like a perfect bumblebee. Like, I'm really trying to find that as my spirituality. At least I can focus on like the tiniest, most beautiful thing, and that's where I'm finding it. But you know, and then I guess just in giving, in a way, which isn't religion, but it is a tenet of keeping faith.
Yeah. Beautiful, Courtney.
Courtney, can I ask you, when you say that in tapping in the past, you have seen signs and you're not seeing that now, what kinds of, give us an example of how you saw signs that helped you in the past.
Well, when my brother died a couple years after, a psychic told my mother to look for hummingbirds, and she said, "Where are we ever going to see hummingbirds in New York City?" I started seeing them so many times in so many places that it was almost, I mean, it had me laughing at times, like, Sean, you know, you're being funny now. You're just hitting me up with another hummingbird, you know? And so it could be like really beautiful. I saw one in the Bekaa Valley when I was reporting in Lebanon. And then I found my perfect apartment in DC when I had to come here to work. And the icon of the building is a hummingbird, and it's on every part of the building. And I just sort of roll my eyes because that would be like such a goofy thing. My brother would just make fun of me, you know? So it's, and birds are apparently a sign of, often a sign of grief. So that would be, or just, you know, there's just this thing that, there was also a thing about rainbows. And a lot of people, another time somebody had an experience where they felt compelled to see a psychic, and my brother apparently came to her, I believe, and stuff like that. It was just too, it was too wild to not believe it. And it was always like, look for the rainbows. And I've just noticed a lot of people posting them right now, which is nice, because they truly are a beautiful sign of hope. And so people are doing that. So, you know, it's just these little signs that I choose to believe because it brings me happiness. And I have friends that are doing amazing things. I have a friend that just has started a GoFundMe page. The original goal was $15,000. They've gone up to $50,000, and they're still delivering much needed PPE across New York. And she just emailed me today and said there's a really dire need. She's a documentary filmmaker. I'm sure we'll see some footage of that soon. And so I was just happy to give to her, you know, telling my nephews that even though we've all had a lot of loss, they've lost their parents, we are not losing right now. We're going to help people. So I guess that's my spirituality, is like in a giving way.
Thank you for sharing that. I asked the question because when we are tapped in, we do see signs. We find guidance in the smallest places. And the more that you tap into that, sometimes it is ridiculous, right? Like the hummingbirds just appearing out of nowhere. And yet, especially when we're exhausted, and I hear in you and see in your energy both like this light and gorgeous hope and this like heavy exhaustion at the same time, like a paradox, right, that I'm seeing in you right now. And I'd like to suggest that don't try, Courtney. You're trying so hard in so many places of your life right now. And spiritually, that's the space to be, and trust yourself and follow those instincts. The things that you're looking at to find joy and beauty is enough. And the less you try to tap in, the more you'll see that you are still very tapped in.
Can I say one thing too?
Sure.
I can't say on air. So I grew up with, you know, around very New York City 80s abusive men. And where women were still told to be quiet if you were telling the truth. And when I see Trump do that, I'm not talking about politics, love or hate him. I don't want to disparage anybody's politics, but this is just a particular thing. When he talks to female journalists, he says, lower your voice, or he says things in a way that I know I've seen powerful men try to silence me, including my dad. And it's weird because I get off the call that I'm watching, listening, and reporting on what he says, and that's nothing of what I talk about. I just say the other stuff. But I feel like a 12-year-old girl who's being body shamed. I feel unattractive. I feel fat. And I have to tell myself in my other head, that's just because those words were so unkind and they're so familiar. And I just wanted to say like that because it's in a trust group, when you wonder what somebody just said that they didn't like. Katie said Trump's treatment of journalists yesterday was terrible. And, but you said despicable. And it's a hard watch. It's hard to absorb. And I'll just try to do what you do, is like practice nothing and not let it come in. But it does. It just gets there. And I'm becoming aware of that too. So that's part of it. It's like, oh, it's not feeling particularly spiritual or higher power. It just feels glum.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to protect ourselves from that kind of energy. And it does drain and exhaust us. And like everything that we talk about and that we're going to continue talking about today, that I wish that there was some bibbity bobbity boo meditation or practice that we could all just do and say, okay, now we have our deflector shields up and it can't get to us anymore. And that's just not the human experience, and it's not the human condition. But we can, one of the meditations that's helpful in that, again, it's sort of what you're doing innately anyway, is when you visualize, and you visualize that heart of yours that is seeing the good in as many places as you can, searching for the signs and for the good, you can use it as a channel for energy. And I know when I talk about energy, some people hear that as a very woo-woo thing. I really don't mean it that way. I mean it in the way, I mean, it can be. I mean, I'm very spiritual with that energetically spiritual, but I don't really mean it that way. When I talk about energy, I mean that kind of energy that we all have felt. You can walk into a room of people all silent and giving no body language, and you can feel what's happened there if it was intense, right? We feel the energy of other people. We absorb it and we put it out there. And so when I talk about energy, that's what I'm talking about. And a visualization that's helped me a lot, Courtney, again, this is not some magic force field, but that has helped me a lot, is to sort of visualize that energy coming through me into my heart. And then I like just see it as like a light that's out in front of me, like out from here, out in front of me. And when I'm putting that out there and not thinking about how horrible what's coming this way is, but only thinking about what I'm putting out, it hurts less. Some of those emotions, some of the impact hurts less. And when we're not in pain, we're able to show up fully, as you do here in this space. And the more that we all can do that, the more that we actually shift things. So I'm so grateful to you for all that you've shared on this call. That's so beautiful. And I hope that everybody learned as much from it as I did. Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney. So what I'd love to do is talk about the next letter, which is P, physical. Where are you physically right now? And think about where you are from head to toe, right? How is your head feeling? Are you having headaches? Is your neck feeling tight? The shoulders, right? Can you drop your shoulders down? Doing a bit of a body scan, kind of going down. Are you breathing full breaths? And I think this is huge, personally, to breathe those expansive breaths that really fill up your whole rib cage and fill up your belly. A lot of times when we have stress, we're not expanding, and we're not filling our belly. We're contracting our stomach. So where are you right now? Yep. So I have the numbers coming in. So 4, so 3, 4, yeah. 2. Yeah, head to toe. And this check-in is a very easy one for you to do throughout the day. And I'd encourage you to do that, especially if you feel that you're feeling anxious, you're feeling stressed, you're having some elements of fear going on. Definitely check in with this throughout the day so you can make some adjustments. Even just tapping in and realizing I'm not doing those full breaths and taking 3 full breaths. Or you check in and realize your shoulders are up to your ears and kind of taking a nice deep breath and relaxing those shoulders. Even those small adjustments throughout the day make a huge difference. So we'd love to hear 1 or 2 of you speak about where are you showing up physically right now and what works for you too. We can also learn what works for each other in this room.
Katie Weissman.
Good morning.
Good
Very
morning.
good today. So I am just frustrated. I mean, I've never been the most active person. Well, I used to be when I was younger, but I had surgery on my right foot at the end of January to get rid of a bone spur that was preventing movement in one of my toes. So that, fine. But now I have plantar fasciitis in the left, so right toe operated on, plantar fasciitis in the left heel. So walking is really challenging because both things are tough. I'm supposed to force myself to walk to, as part of my physical therapy. I have been looking for alternate ways, so I should bike. I got my bike back. Yesterday with my daughter, I did Just Dance, which is so much fun on Nintendo Switch. That was the best, but I'm in constant pain. Like Advil isn't doing it. And it's literally a thorn in my side. And it's like bringing me down because I'm in constant pain. Walking around the house, walking the dog, doing just the general walking that's not even exercise walking. And it's really hard I think it's really, it gives me this veneer of anxiety because it hurts all the time.
Yeah. There's a book I think I've talked about it in this call before called Buddha's Brain by Rick Hansen. And he talks a little bit about physical pain in that book. And I'm sorry that you're experiencing it. It sucks to be in physical pain, especially chronic physical pain. And there's a lot of research, Katie, that might help that says, I think he described it as darts, 2 darts. So physical pain is like somebody throwing a dart at you, right? Ow, this frickin' hurts, right? And then immediately afterward, it's rare that even chronic pain is continuous, right? It ebbs and flows. And so after that first dart hits us, when the pain is its most severe, we automatically generate a story about that pain. Oh my God, this is horrible. I can't believe I'm in this much pain. I hope it ends. I wonder if this will work. And the story that we create about the pain actually creates a second dart, right? A second pain point. And it increases our pain, not decreases it. So while this technique that he's talking about isn't about magically meditating your pain away, it is about shifting the stories that you tell yourself about the pain, because it will stop it from increasing the pain and frustration around it. So either I recommend that book to everybody. It's a brilliant way of looking at how the mind affects our happiness. But if you're not into that kind of techie sort of book, I'd suggest noticing when you have that pain, and then notice immediately what story you tell yourself about it, and change the story. You can't change the pain, but you can change the story about the pain.
Perhaps a story that you might want to consider is that this is part of the healing process, right? This is part of the healing journey, and I will feel better. And for what it's worth, I'm experiencing similar as well. I have Lyme disease, so I experience a lot of pain in my legs. And I just keep telling myself, this is part of the healing journey. And the healing process isn't fun, and the pain isn't fun. Last night I was in tears for a little while, actually, to be completely honest. But it's part of the process, and I'm trusting that process.
What's frustrating is that,
and it'll be up and down. Yeah.
you know, the surgeon's like, oh, you'll be back on your feet in 2 months. Yeah, I'm back on my feet. That's wonderful. Thanks, guys. So I know I have to eliminate that negativity, but I like the whole thinking about the second dart.
Good. Give it a try and let us know.
Okay.
How it works for you. You can kind of chart by saying, okay, my pain today was a 5 overall. And then as you're playing with the stories, just chart your pain. Today it was a this overall, or and see what changing the story does.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Another thing that's really helpful, physically, Dana was talking about breathing. Notice how often you're actually holding your breath. Never mind deep breaths. I guarantee you that a lot of you just exhaled or inhaled when I said that. When I'm looking at Lesley right now, she's totally not breathing. When we focus, it's just a natural part of focus. We're paying attention to something, we're focusing, we hold our breath. It's why your personal trainer is constantly telling you to breathe, because when you're working out, you're focusing, oh, I gotta, and what do? You hold your breath. So just tapping in to notice, am I holding my breath or am I breathing? Crazy.
Thank you. Thank you, for Marissa, for chiming in on that. Also, actually, my mind just went in a different direction. I'm going to bring it back, actually. I think we should probably, just in the interest of time, go on to the next acronym, which is I. And this is intellectual. Where are you showing up right now in terms of curiosity, right? Where are you intellectually? And this is, are you kind of leaning into curiosity? And let's say 1 is not feeling curious at all, completely. I just need to just kind of be where I'm at. 2, 5, I'm feeling very curious. I'm very inspired to learn right now. I'm very inspired to, and again, this is something certainly that may vary a lot with the day, especially based on what's going on with the news. Seeing a lot of 3s, 4s, 5s, yeah. And as we talk about self-care, maybe self-care right now may be leaning into learning, right? Maybe this is a time that I can learn something new, and maybe it doesn't need to be anything about your career or anything productive. Maybe it's just because. Maybe I just want to learn a little bit about those beautiful bumblebees, or I want to learn a little bit about gardening, or whatever it happens to be, right? So who would like to chime in on this? How is curiosity, or how is intellectual learning showing up for you right now? And is it different than it usually is? Rose, what are your thoughts?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I like to sew. That's my passion.
Awesome.
So right before the virus hit, I was out in Puyallup, Washington at the largest sewing expo in the country.
Wow.
So I took a bunch of classes, hung out with a lot of other fabricaholics. It was great.
What do you call it? Fabricaholics?
Fabricaholics.
Love it.
Love to collect fabric. And I'm using it up. So I take this time to make clothes for myself. My daughter happens to be the same size, so she lucks out. And there are so many classes online, and all I have to do is sit here and listen, and it's great. Then someone asked me to make a mask, and I'm like, okay. So I made the mask, and I do them in spurts. I've made like maybe 20, maybe 25 of them. And that's enough for me. And my son said, well, don't you want to save the world? I said, yep, but I'm putting my oxygen mask on first. And sewing for me is my oxygen mask. Yep. And I am trying new patterns that I haven't done. I can make up a jersey, and no problem at all. But doing a raglan top is different. And I have been working like a week to perfect this top. And I finally perfected it last night. So now there's like 5 tops ready to be made because I have figured out this pattern. And that's called success.
Yeah.
It's what I love to do. I've been gardening, so I'm looking up what plants the deers don't eat. Mm-hmm. So it's been cool. And I'm like, I'm going to be stuck here for months. I'm in Massachusetts and we're not going anywhere. So I'm taking advantage of it. I think this is great, even though I keep looking on the calendar to figure out what I have to do today. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have morning meditation and that's about it. But you give me some kind of routine on Monday mornings. Reason to get out of bed at a reasonable hour, because I sew until like midnight every day. Because it's just, it gives me a release. It gives me satisfaction, accomplishment. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, well, you're not going to wear it. It's for me, and I like it. It's what I enjoy doing. So it's my satisfaction.
Beautiful. Wow, Rose, thank you for sharing. And what's so great is you can just hear your energy and your enthusiasm kind of popping off the screen with what it is. I can't even see you, but I'm hearing it in your voice.
It's a really good hair day. I was going to be really brave today, but I said, nah, not happening. Not happening today, ladies. But it is. It's fun to be creative.
Yeah.
And it's what I enjoy, as opposed to being criticized for, oh, that's not what I wanted. Well, that's why I didn't make it for you. And you need to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. That's how I do it.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Perfect
Thank you.
Example of self-care, right? There are those who are called to make masks, and there are those who are called to serve. We're all serving. We have to serve in the way that we are individually called to serve.
I mean, it's fun it's great to make masks, but we call it piecemeal. It's the same thing over and over, and I am not good at that piecemeal business. It's boring. It's not creative. I have embroidered lips on a few masks, and it was, got a great kick out of, that was my creativity. So like, okay, I can do this. This is fun. But if it's just a regular mask, it gets a little boring.
That's awesome. It's so interesting, Rose, as you're talking about this, it's bringing up the conversation we had earlier about strengths, right? We all have our superpower strengths. And as you talk about your strength and your love of sewing, it's making me realize like, oh my gosh, like we need to so honor what our strengths are and what our curiosity is and what we lean into, because other people don't have the gift that you have. And case in point, you're bringing up, for me, the one time I've sewed in my life was 8th grade home ec class. And I sewed a boat net shirt and I couldn't get it over my big head. And that is the only time I've sewed.
I got a D- and I didn't even finish the apron in 8th grade home ec. That's how old we are, right? That there was home ec.
Yep, yep.
Right. I don't think that, they don't have that anymore.
No more home ec. No. It's a lost art.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So the next one is R, relationally. Did I skip one? No, I didn't. R, relationally. So we've talked a fair amount about this in previous calls, the relationships that we have in our life. And the number one way that we can elevate our happiness is to cultivate relationships that are meaningful to us. To cultivate those relationships with the people that we love and the people that love us. And I think we all know that we can have relationships. We can be with people, but still feel alone. the flip side is we can physically be alone, but we can be in beautiful relationships with people even now, right, as we're at a distance. So where are you showing up right now in your relationships? One is I'm really not feeling very connected at all. And 5 is I just feel like I'm so much more beautifully connected or in a beautifully connected place with the people that I love the most.
You know what? Well, everybody puts their numbers in the chat. We skipped Stephen, who had something to say on our last one on intellectual.
Oh, perfect. Hello, Stephen.
How you doing, ladies? And thank you for allowing me to be on. I'm in sales. I love to sell, and my company curtailed our hours because of this shelter in place, and we're not a quote unquote essential employment, but we act like we are because we're in commercial collections. So we have a way of, because of the finance side, staying open and operating. And so my hours got cut back to from 8 to plus hours a day to 4.5 hours a day. So I decided to, while I was sitting around and, I wasn't going to twiddle my thumbs all day and everything. And my best friend reached out to me, and he is now one of the, he's the distributor of a disinfectant here in Louisiana. The disinfectant supposedly is the science of it. It can kill COVID, can kill any virus, any bacteria, and everything. And it's legit. And I did all my homework, because there are a lot of fly-by-night ideas out there and companies that are trying to capitalize on this stuff, and so I decided, because of my contacts in sales and everything, I reached out to Amazon, Aramark, and Motion Industries, which are 3 very large companies, and we now have a contract that's in the works to be their largest distributor. And it's amazing because, had this not happened, I wouldn't have been able to utilize my contacts, my selling ability to try something different. I've never sold chemicals before or anything, but there's such a need for hand sanitizer, the N95 mask, and disinfectant. And so right now we're in the process of getting 1 million K95, which are similar to the N95 masks. It's the ones that Robert Kraft got from China. We're in the process of getting 1 million shipped back from China to Amazon as well. And I'll be honest with you, my wildest dreams, I've been in sales since I was 16, 15. I'm 41 now. I don't think I ever would have thought I'd be doing this, and
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's amazing, because of COVID,
That's a perfect example of seeing opportunity in times where we're disrupted, and leaning into our intellectual ability and using our time differently. Thanks for sharing that with us, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as we are on so relationally, I'm seeing, as always, right, a spectrum of where we're at, from 2s to 6s, right? So we're all in very different places on that. And I'd love to hear 1 or 2, I guess probably in the interest of time, one of your thoughts on what is showing up for you differently now with the relationships in your life because of, what we're going through.
Can I?
Liz.
Terrific. Liz, go ahead.
Hi there. I'm not sure if it's showing up differently, but I feel like it's amplified during this. And that is, and Susan mentioned it, I think, in the chat a couple of minutes ago. I'm feeling more judgy, and I'm feeling more judged. Definitely some of the things related to the news, for sure, but more so in my closer relationships. I noticed it yesterday, and just my husband and I agreed that we were going to wear masks to show how that we were taking this very seriously, and even though we weren't going to be near anyone. And then he took his off, and I kind of felt like an idiot and just worried about how the other people we were with were thinking of me. And I just kind of feel on edge about that. And similarly with friends, again, some of it related to what's going on, and some of it certainly not.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I think a couple things. One, first of all, is I love that you're acknowledging this for yourself, because again, I think the first act towards any kind of change, if we want to make a change, is to simply acknowledge it, right? So for you, there's an acknowledgement, and I guess the next question for yourself is, is with this acknowledgement, is there something that I want to change with that? And I think this, to me, brings up the need right now for a lot of compassion, right? Everybody is dealing with this differently. We are all in completely unnavigated terrain right now. None of us have experienced anything like this. And I think we're all going to be experiencing this so differently. How we're going to show up in any given moment is different. Everyone that we love, no matter how much we know them and love them, they may surprise us with how they're dealing with this. So we all, I think, need to exercise some compassion, not only for ourselves, to be like, okay, I'm feeling like an emotional mess today or a roller coaster today. Let me just kind of be where I'm at and acknowledge that this is okay right now. This is where I need to be right now. But also acknowledging that in other people, right? Because all of us are going to be going through this in a different way. And none of us are going to be pretty all the time as we navigate this, right? We're all going to have challenges as we navigate this.
True. If you can imagine that behind everyone's rib cage is this little tiny version of ourselves, completely covered in the armor that we have built to protect ourselves, with our own stockpile of weapons, whatever our weapons are, right? Some of us use sarcasm, some people use judgment, some people use anger, some people use retreat, whatever your stockpile of weapons are. And behind our ribcage, we each have this little critter. When we're afraid, when things are unusual, these are who are talking to one another. You're not talking to the grown-up, and their grown-up is not talking to your grown-up. These two little warriors are who's talking to one another. And if you can imagine that the more that your warrior is afraid of their warrior, the more weapons you put in front of you. And their warrior senses it and they see it. And so they bring more weapons to the table. The only way that we can unwind judgment and anger is to slowly put our weapons down, to slowly take our armor off. And I know it sounds counterintuitive and scary, but truly, the more that your little guy behind your ribcage shows that, instinctually, the people that you're with will begin to feel it. So judgment is a scary thing, but leaning into vulnerability and laying down our own judgments is really the best way to connect and to sort of lessen it all around.
Yeah, it's a beautiful point.
I like that visual. Thanks, Wendy.
You're welcome, Liz.
That also leads beautifully to the next letter in the acronym is E, emotionally. Where are we all at emotionally? And I think, again, we've spoken about the roller coaster I think that we're all inevitably going through. I think our hope for you is that you will be beautifully compassionate with yourself, with wherever you're at, and to give yourself permission to experience whatever you're experiencing. Right? I think a lot of time as it relates to happiness, I think a lot of us think that to be happy, we have to have a smile face on all the time. And not only is that unrealistic, it's completely false. What we know from research is that people that are happy allow themselves to experience what it means to be human. They allow themselves to experience every one of these emotions. And not to necessarily dwell and roll around in the mud in them, right? But to acknowledge them. Like, okay, this flat out sucks. And I'm an emotional basket case today, right? Like we all find ourselves in that place, and we all find ourselves in the other beautiful place, right? We all are somewhere on that spectrum all the time. And to simply acknowledge that and to accept that as part of our process. And to know that if we block, we cannot block our emotions. We cannot selectively block. So if we try to selectively block those painful emotions, the ones that are more difficult for us, we're also going to block the very positive emotions. So we need to give ourselves permission to experience them. And again, to acknowledge them and to be where we're at in an honest way, and to know that it's going to pass and that we will experience the positive and the beautiful as well. And in this journey of what we're going through, we've touched on this today, we're all finding, silver linings and beauty in this experience, and we're all finding challenges, right? This is embracing the and in a big way, which is something I mentioned in one of our previous calls. Not everything's all beautiful and not everything all sucks, right? There's a big and here. There's things that suck and there's things that are beautiful. So wherever you are in that, to embrace that and to allow yourself to experience it and to move through it. So how are you showing up emotionally today? How are you feeling emotionally, I guess, at this moment? Because today may vary, right? So where are you feeling right now? 1 is I'm in a really tough place. And 5 is I'm feeling good right now. I'm feeling at peace right now.
We have numbers all over, and lots of folks are saying it depends on the moment, right? We're all over the place. And that's absolutely normal, right? That's absolutely normal. It's normal to be on the verge of tears 1 minute and feel really hopeful the next minute, to be a 1 today and a 5 tomorrow. Part of caring for yourself is noticing it and being okay with it, right? So we gave you this tool, Spire, today. And again, it's spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, emotional, as a touch-in for your own sense of well-being and your own sense of self-care. And I'm going to piggyback and give you a little bonus tool to attach to it. And it's trust and curate. Okay? The trust is trust yourself. I guarantee you, no matter how many mistakes you have made in your life, the more you trust yourself, the more you will learn, the better your life will be. And I say curate because if you are here on Positive Mondays with us, you are a learner. You are somebody who reads and goes to webinars, and you take tools like Spire and the ones that we gave you, and you use them and you apply them and you listen to people who you see as knowing more about a topic than you do. Curate, but do not assume that any tool that anybody offers is the tool for you. The goal is to take all of the information from all of these brilliant people that you follow and not say, okay, they say this is the way I've got to do it, so this is the way I'm going to do it. But to say, this little thing makes sense, and this thing that she said made sense to me, and this thing that I read over here and build your own tools that suit who you are, that suit what you need. Okay? So we gave you Spire as one sort of model tool that you can use, and lots of other tools. Trust yourself and curate all of the knowledge that you collect to build something that makes sense, that works for you. And it's an experiment, my friends. You're going to have to play with it all. In order to build something that works for you, you're going to have to experiment and trust. Okay, so I have a little meditation for us this morning before we hand over to Lesley. And I'm going to do this as slowly as possible, but given the time, I'm going to run through it maybe a minute more quickly than I had anticipated. So bear with me on that. Everybody hop into your seats, get nice and comfy, feel your butts in the chair, your feet on the floor or underneath you if you're sitting cross-legged. Close your eyes. Allow yourself to breathe. And as we do, let that air fill your body, nourish you on each inhale. And on the exhale, allow the stress and the worries of the day to melt away. On each inhale, fill and nourish, straighten and lengthen. On the exhale, each time, allow yourself to relax a little bit more, to let go of a little bit more. As you breathe, I want you to start by imagining at your root chakra, that place at the base of your spine, a red ball, glowing red sphere of energy swirling at the base of your spine. And as you imagine it in your mind, repeat after me. We are security and peace. And watch the energy travel up to your sacral chakra, and the ball becomes orange. And as it spins, repeat after me. We are happiness and generosity. And as you inhale, bring the ball of energy up to your solar plexus and see that the energy is now yellow. We are strength and support. And inhale deeply now. Pull the energy up into your heart chakra. And that sphere is glowing green. And as you breathe, we are love and connection. Continue to inhale the energy up into your throat chakra. And the ball of energy becomes blue. And we are each a unique voice and expression. And as you breathe, bring the ball of energy up to your third eye chakra, that point right between your eyebrows. And the color is indigo. We are truth. And as you breathe and bring the ball of energy up into your crown chakra, and the light becomes violet. And we breathe. We are light. As you inhale and exhale, see all of these energies, all of the colors of the rainbow, bursting within you. And as you exhale, allow that energy to come out through your heart chakra and feel it. Feel the energy of your friends and colleagues here together. We are connected. We are whole. We are safe. Bring your attention back to your breath. And when I count to 5, you can open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back. Lesley.
Always terrible. I'm like ready to just stay in my, it's like, no, I don't want to come back. Anyway, everybody, thank you for joining us. I just want to tell you quickly of what we have coming this week. I hope you'll join us. Tonight is Dr. Cecilia Dentino and Hannah Starobin of Twisting the Plot. And they work specifically with women 50, 60 and above about how to reinvent themselves and how to look forward and not backward. And this is called Reinventing in a Pandemic. And then on Wednesday night, we have a career specialist who is Dr. Naila Bari. She's also from Columbia University. How to build career stamina when the ground keeps shifting. And then on Friday, we have a good friend of mine, Jennifer Witter, who is just an incredible PR and social media maven. I'm really excited we have her. And it's about how to make the most of virtual networking, how to get that done. And then we have our guided meditation on Sunday with Kelly Ravoto. So I hope you'll all join us. Be sure to follow. I think we may have 1 or 2 spaces left. I think Dana and Wendy said in our Navigating Change mastermind, which starts tomorrow. So if anybody's moved to jump in really quickly, you can reach out to me or Wendy. That's being hosted by them, and it goes on for 6 months. So you've got the absolute tools and way to actually manifest change. And now's the time to do it, in my opinion, because guess what? It's going to be very different out there. And I think that opens opportunity for all of us. So thank you for joining us. Come back. Make sure you sign up for next Monday. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful week. And thank you so much, Wendy and Dana, because I really feel this gets my week started. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye. We'll see you next Monday, everyone.